गुलाबी मुखड़ी केवली छजीरे नाक की नथुनी केवली छजीरे
Hello, friends. Welcome to Himalayan Echoes Digital Edition. The
Hello.
session title in discussion with Shashiraj Singh is Sail, Sail, Sail Your Boat Then and Now. As Commodore of the Nainital Yacht Club, NTYC, it is my privilege to mediate this session with a great sailor and our past Commodore, Shashiraj Singh. Today, we are discussing the 130-year rich history and legacy and sailing traditions of the Nainital Yacht Club, which is one of the oldest sailing clubs of India, founded in the early 1900s. The club has the unique distinction of not only being the highest sailing club in India, but also sails vintage yachts known as the Linton Hope half-raters. These yachts were designed by the British gentleman known as Mr. Linton Hope way back in the latter part of 1800s. NTYC has been able to keep these yachts restored in sail-worthy condition till today. We are privileged and to be probably one of the only clubs in the world besides the Norfolk Sussex Sailing Club, UK, who still sail these vintage yachts. The Yacht Club, which is a sailing wing of the Boathouse Club, is situated in one of the most scenic locations of Nainital, overlooking the beautiful Nainital Lake. In this session, I would like to run through the nostalgic journey of yesteryears with Mr. Shashiraj Singh. Welcome, Shashi Bhai, to this special edition. And I would like to go with my first question. You have not only been a past flag officer, Commodore, but also one of our most experienced sailors who have been part of this club for over 50 years. Besides this, your late father, Rajkumar Giriraj Singh Ji, the first Indian Commodore, had played a pivotal role in re-establishing and saving this club after independence. My question to you is, please tell us about the amazing history of the club and the important role played by your late father, Rajkumar Giriraj Singh Ji.
In 1947, with the approach of independence, most of the British members of the Nainital Club, which was the parent club of the Nainital Yacht Club, were planning to leave for Britain. So they decided to sell the entire fleet of 9 yachts to any other club. And they were in touch with Cochin and some other clubs. And the agreement was almost coming through that the yachts would be sent off to these clubs. Just then, my father, Rajkumar Giriraj Singh, his elder brother, Rajkumar Pritam Shethjang, and Raja H.C.R. Singh of Kashipur, along with some Indian friends, and some Britishers who had decided to stay on after independence. G.M. Hopkins, one of the top sailors at that time, who was Commodore of the club, he was one. Then there was Jim Stevens of the Forest Service and A.D. Richardson, who had been honorary secretary of the Nainital Club for quite some time. So they decided that they would not allow sailing to die down in Nainital and let the yachts go from here. And they pooled in, and my father and uncle, they purchased the entire assets of the Boathouse Club, plus the fleet of 9 yachts. The assets of the club were later on donated to the club, while the fleet of 9 yachts, 1 yacht was given to the Boathouse Club, and the other yachts were sold to various other people interested in sailing. My father kept 2 yachts, one for himself and one for his brother. So, and then the Nainital Club, which was as I said, the parent body, was dissolved, and the Boathouse Club was registered at the Boathouse Club Limited, and the Nainital Yacht Club was the sailing part of that. So that's how these people, some Indians, some Britishers, managed to save the Nainital Yacht Club and continue with sailing on Nainital Lake.
So, Shashi Bhai, I would really uh, like to reinforce this point that your late father, Rajkumar Giriraj Singh Ji, was the savior of this club. So today we owe a lot to him. Today, the Boathouse Club exists because of him. Had he not bought those assets of this club, we would have not been there. So I really, truly feel that we need to do something in his memory in the club. We should create an area as part of the present committee. I would like to recommend to this committee to do something in his honor, so that he's remembered amongst the great other people who have founded the club.
Thank you.
Right. My second question to you, Shashi Bhai, is that we are proud to sail on vintage yachts known as the Linton Hope Half-Raters. Now, these yachts were built by Mr. Linton Hope, as you know, and they have been very specially made to deal with the Nainital Lake breeze conditions. Now, these are very unique yachts. Not only are they vintage, but they also have the design factor is very suitable to the Nainital Lake. So since you've sailed on these yachts, I would like to ask you, what was your experience and why do you think these yachts are appropriate for this lake?
Well, I would put your second question first. As you have said, these yachts were designed by Mr. Linton Hope and built by Turk and Company of Kingston on the Thames. Now, there were two Carey brothers who were very keen sailors, and they were both in the army, and they ordered 3 yachts designed by Linton Hope. These yachts came to Nainital, and the first day they went out sailing, there was a strong China, and all 3 masts broke. So then a little bit of modification and redesigning and things had to be done, and the yachts were completely lake-worthy. The other part was that these yachts were gaff rigged as compared to the modern day straight or Bermuda rigging, as they say. Now, the main advantage of these was that the breeze in Nainital was very fickle, can change within seconds by 180 degrees. So the gaff catches this breeze very fast as compared to the straight rigging. So that's why these yachts are still sailing and still the best yachts for Nainital. Many years ago, when the CBK straight rigged yacht was first designed, they brought a yacht here and they said, oh, we'll cut circles around your yacht. But in a race, the CBK was left miles behind, and our yachts are definitely the most suitable for this lake. And in a strong China, they do capsize, but if the crew or the skipper, anyone, is quick enough and steps on the centerboard, if the centerboard is down, then the yacht comes back on its own. And this I've seen being done by a lady, Mrs. Betty Pollock, one of the top sailors of the 50s. We were in a race. I was just behind her, and a big China gust came, and she capsized. But fortunately, the centerboard was down, so she jumped on the centerboard. The boat came back, and she told her crew that bail out. So she kept bailing out, and we just couldn't catch her. We were quite hopeful when she had capsized that we'd get ahead of her. So we finished second. So that's the main advantage. And that's why these yachts, I think, will continue. The only other club, as we mentioned, as far as my knowledge is concerned, is the Royal Norfolk and Sussex Sailing Club. This tie belongs to that club and features the Linton Hope Half-Raters. And they have modified the yachts. They're made of fiberglass, and modification has been done. But as far as I know, this is the only other club in the world sailing these yachts today.
So, I mean, it's really an amazing vintage we are talking about, because today we are the only yachts in India. I mean, no other club sails these yachts, maybe in Asia, and then maybe we'll break the world record, because even the Sussex Club would change over very soon, but we will not, because I think this lake needs these yachts, and no, as you rightly said, no other yachts can perform on these lakes the way they do. So I am very proud to, as Commodore of the club, to say today, even today, we will continue, and whoever comes in the next generations will surely try and continue with these heritage yachts. Right. Okay, Shashibhai, my next question to you is that you have also sailed with great sailors of yesteryears, which included your late father, Rajkumar Giriraj Singh, squadron leader D.S. Majithia, whom we called as we call DP Uncle, Mr. Dharamveer, Mrs. Sita Nanda, Mr. Arvind Prasad, Mr. Vikram Nanda, and many more. I would like you to make special reference to squadron leader D.S. Majithia, DP Uncle, who has not only been the past Commodore and a living legend at the age of 102 years and still going strong. We salute him for his huge contribution to sailing and this club. I am happy to inform you that he too will be watching this session. So what would you like to say about these stalwarts who have, and any interesting moments you would like to share?
Well, as you have mentioned, these were great sailors. Some more sailors were there at that time. There was Colonel Ajit Prasad and others, and some ladies have been missed out, like Mrs. Rupi Majithia and Mrs. Betty Pollock. When I started sailing in more than 50 years ago, it was not very easy keeping up with these stalwarts, and I would always be in the second last or last position. But eventually, after a few years of experience and getting to know the lake and the breeze and things, I did manage a few wins. And of course, Uncle DP, or squad leader D.S. Majithia, was always an outstanding athlete. He played very good tennis, squash, and golf. And he is probably the oldest Royal Air Force pilot in the world at 102 years. His birthday was celebrated in July. He was really an outstanding sailor. And one race I remember, the Muzaffarpur Challenge Cup, I think it was in 1980 or whatever. And there was a strong, it was in October, there was a strong China blowing when we started off. And after the start, it seemed to get stronger. So 3 yachts retired, and they were yacht owners who did not want their yachts damaged. And then 2 yachts broke their masts. So eventually just 3 yachts were left. There was Uncle DP in the lead, my father just behind him, and I further behind with P.L. Shah, who was one of the top sailors at that time, as my crew. The only disadvantage was that he was very thin and not much help in such a strong breeze, but he knew the lake very well. And so 3 yachts were there. And just then another strong gust. China is always very gusty. Gust came and my father capsized. So then there were just the 2 of us. So PL kept saying, partner palatna nahi, partner palatna nahi. And just then a stronger gust came down, we went into the drink. And well, as luck would have it, the breeze dropped a bit and the drizzle which had been happening also stopped. And Uncle DP sailed, finished the race, the only yacht to finish the race and win the Challenge Cup. So in that respect, he was outstanding. And I just mentioned about Mrs. Betty Pollock, how she righted her yacht by jumping on the center board. She was very good, as well as the other ladies, Mrs. Sita Nanda, who later became a Commodore, and Mrs. Rupi Majithia. They were good. I would also like to mention the bosun, Bachi Singh Pawar, who was a part and parcel of the Nainital Yacht Club for almost 50 years. He organized all the races, looked after the yachts, and did odds and ends, every single job it could be done. He was really outstanding, and he passed away about 15, 20 years ago. Then there were some outstanding paid hands or kishtiwalas. One was Tika Singh. And any beginner going out with Tika Singh 3 or 4 times would invariably win a race. And then there was Mohan Singh in charge of the number 7 yacht, which was one of the top yachts at that time, owned by Arvind Prasad and Mukund Prasad. He was also very good. So these are the people who contributed to these to the NTYC in a very big way. And I suppose that answers your question.
Yes, yes, absolutely. These were the great names. I only named a few. Of course, I must mention about a very interesting incident when I used to crew a lot for Uncle DP, as you remember, in his yacht number 4 with Molly. And we had this very gusty China blowing on one of the races, and all the yachts, if you remember, had capsized that year. Most of the yachts. Auntie Sita went into the towards the mandir. She kind of crashed there. We were all down, and I was crewing for Uncle, so we managed to reach almost we were near the finish line, and our yacht capsized. So when we both fell in the water, and I was looking for DP Uncle, and I could see his turban on the water. So I was very worried what happened to him, and I went underwater to check where he is, because the yacht, we were trying to find each other, but I couldn't find him. And suddenly both of us popped out together. So I said, "Uncle, where were you?" He says, "Veer, where were you?" So we were looking for each other while, because it was like literally the water, Nainital water was like, there was huge waves, and it was like sea water. And I remember that experience. And I must say that Uncle told me, "Let's swim." And from there, both of us swam across to the club jetty. That was an experience I can never forget. Imagine, of course, he's a grand old 102-year-old man today, but he had so much of energy. Even today, I must say, he plays golf. He does everything possible. He is really a living legend. I mean, no doubt about it. So there's such great sailors we've had such great sailors in Nainital, and they have all been very, very fit and adventurous. Okay, my next question to you, Uncle, is that NTYCs, I call you Uncle and Bhai because I'm stuck between Bhai and Uncle. Used to call my parents, my father, Uncle. So I have to now address you in both, calling you Bhai as well as Uncle.
Uncle Bhai.
Yes, yes. Okay, so my next question, Bhai, NTYC sailors have religiously followed the old 100-year-old tradition and legacy of holding the annual Matalaw ball, dance and dinner. This has always been an old tradition followed by the sailors, marking the end of the sailing season of the autumn regatta. Now, this is you must tell us about the Matalaw ball and how it was celebrated, and what is this legacy we followed.
Before I talk about the Matalaws, there's one race with Uncle DP, which I forgot to mention, and that was the Independence Day Trophy in 1982. I had a lady crew, and we started off, and Uncle DP was a little ahead. He increased his lead, and by the time we got to mid-lake, mist came up, quite a thick mist from Talital, and the visibility was hardly about 15, 20 feet. So I asked my crew to keep her eyes wide open and look out for any landmarks. So after about 5 minutes or so, she said, "I see a strange hill." So I said, "Look," I retorted, "look, there are no strange hills in Nainital. I mean, we know all the hills here." And then the mist started to clear up. And by some luck, we were slightly ahead of Uncle DP and turned the buoy. And thereafter, we kept increasing our lead and finished first. Uncle finished second. So this was one of the very rare occasions where I managed to beat Uncle DP in a race. Well, thanks to the mist. That's how it happened. Now, the other part of your question about the Matalaws. The Matalaws is the French for sailors, and it would be hosted by all the sailors, that is all the boat owners, plus the flag officers. And all the boat owners would assemble on the jetty in the evening, say around 8 o'clock or so, and a gun would go off, and the Commodore would arrive in a rowboat, and then he would be escorted by all the sailors and the committee members and everybody to the bar. And of course, everybody enjoyed themselves at the bar, and after half an hour or so, another gun went off, and everybody proceeded to the dining tables. It was a sit-down dinner, excellent fare from Inamullah, the old boathouse club cook. And there were very short, witty speeches by all the flag officers. One flag officer said, "Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy." And a bunch applauded. And another flag officer, the Vice Commodore, he was known as, for obvious reasons, as the amorous admiral. And well, that's how it happened. And after dinner, another gun would go off, and one could proceed to the bar or to the dance floor. And the festivities went off till the wee hours of the morning. So that was the conclusion of the Matlows and how it was done.
Thank you. Now, since we are going to be finishing soon, I would like to now talk about the future of sailing in Nainital, and how would you like to, whatever guidance you would like to give for the yacht club, the flag to fly for the future generations to come. Now, as you know, sailing is a dying sport, and we need to encourage more and more youngsters and interested persons to get involved and carry on this great sport and legacy left behind by sailors of yesteryears. Well, we need to set up sailing camps, classes for schools, for children to learn sailing, and we need to do a lot in order to promote this great sport. As you know, we've also set up a tourist sailing jetty, which I am trying to, the flag officers of the yacht club are trying to pursue with the government to try and promote this amongst the tourists, so that we create a lovely environment there for tourists to come and sail, and also get involved in this sport. So I know this sport is a dying sport, but we would like to not let it die, because it's got such a beautiful, the feel of a sailboat on the lake, Nainital Lake, and anyone who's sailing on it is probably the best experience you can have in your life when you're on. It's one of my best experiences. So I'm sure a lot of people who get the opportunity will be able to enjoy this and also get into competitive sailing. So my last question to you, Shashi Bhai, is that what do you think we should do now in order to ensure that this sport carries on, and that how do we promote it amongst youngsters?
Well, the first thing which could be done was to encourage our own sons, daughters, relatives to take up sailing at a young age when they're teenagers. My grandson, who is about 14, is quite a keen sailor. And every time he's in Nainital, he does go out a couple of times. So we should encourage it in that way. And all the members of the NTYC, and if they can take their sons, daughters out sailing themselves and a couple of times and enjoy. And if they win, or even otherwise, some of them can pick up sailing. So that is one. Secondly, if we can organize some camps with school children in Nainital. Now, almost every school worth its name in Nainital has a swimming pool. So there are a lot of good swimmers amongst boys and girls. And if they're encouraged to take up sailing by organizing sailing camps and on the lake, it would be a big thing. Another thing is that people consider sailing rather dangerous. But I would like to point out that over the last 100 years or so, it is on record there has been no serious accident as such during sailing, because the yachts are filled with air-filled canisters. They cannot sink. And now it is mandatory for all sailors to put on life jackets. So this is another thing which the school administrators felt that it was very dangerous, and they couldn't let their wards take on this danger. It is not at all a dangerous sport. It's highly enjoyable. Of course, in a China, it can be a little nerve-wracking, but the best is not to go out in a China. I mean, because normally when a China is blowing in the morning, it continues almost throughout the day. And the same thing with the other breeze, Nainital breeze, which comes from Nainital. That is also fairly steady. So that is a safe breeze. And then, of course, the third breeze is the beam blowing across the lake, in which all records are created, because you can go straight from one buoy to another, complete the course in less than half an hour. My father has done it, and quite a few other people have, and a lot of Englishmen did it too. So that is another thing. And I don't know what other way. We have been conducting camps and races for school children, but it's been off and on. Of course, last 3 years, because of the COVID, nothing could be done. So that was a bit of a drawback, but now it's back. I can give you the example of golf. Now, the golf, there's a couple of trophies for youngsters, boys and girls, and a lot of youngsters turn up for practice and for the tournament, which was being held every year. Of course, last 2 years it hasn't been held, and so a similar thing could be done with sailing also.
Right. Okay. So Shashi Bhai, since we are now concluding this session, we are I think about to exhaust our 30 minutes. I would like to also last but not the least mention that we've been holding the Governor's Gold Cup Sailing Regatta, which is a team event, and some of the top sailing teams and sailors participate in this prestigious regatta, which you've been also part of and help and really guided us through how to organize it. So unfortunately, since the past 3 years, we could not hold the same due to COVID-19 pandemic. Now we propose to hold the regatta in April 2023 with all our old yachts re-restored and the new sails which have just been imported from the US. So it's going to be a spectacle for anyone to come. People watching this must come and view this lovely regatta. We'll have a 3-day team race, and this is something which is carried in every newspaper. This time we're going to have live coverage too. So let's hope that this is going to be a huge step towards revival of sailing. So finally, I would like to conclude this session by saying that firstly, thank you, Shashi Bhai, for taking out time and making us go through the old nostalgic journey of the Nainital Yacht Club. On behalf of the Nainital Yacht Club and the Boathouse Club, we are, as you know, a part of the Boathouse Club. I would like to convey my sincere thanks to Himalayan Echoes and Janvi Prasad for giving us this opportunity to speak in this very prestigious festival. You are all doing a commendable job in promoting literature and arts. We wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. Keep the good work going. Thank you. Thank you all.
May I say something in the end? Something
Sure.
very in
Yes,
keeping
sure.
with the theme of the session, sail, sail, sail away. I would like to misquote General Douglas MacArthur of the US Army. He said, well, I'm saying old sailors never die. They simply sail away. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you very much. And it has been a great, great session. And thank you, everyone, whoever is going to be watching. Thank you very much. Thank you.